This episode of the Sartorial Geek podcast is sponsored by Logan Arch. Logan Arch has super cute, nostalgic, and nerdy accessories and apparel. If you're a Hamilton fan or a gaming fan, I think you'll find something that you love. They have adorable enamel pins and these really, really cute new coin purses and regular purses that I'm obsessed with. If that sounds up your alley, please check them out at loganarchchicago.com and all over the internet at loganarchchicago. Hey, welcome to the Sartorial Geek podcast. I'm Jordan Ellis of Jordan Danae, and I'm here again with Robyn Warren from Geek Girl Strong.
Hi, everybody.
If you have listened to episodes before, you've probably heard Robyn. We talked about Black Panther when that movie came out, and then we talked about something else. And then we talked about health stuff. Yeah, fitness.
Health tips for geeky people.
So go back and listen to those if you want to hear about Black Panther and health tips, which were great.
Should probably know what episodes I was on, so it's like 3 or 4.
I think it was like 3 and 7.
Something.
we'll link to them all. But today I wanted to talk to Robyn about self-care for a bunch of reasons. One, holidays are coming up, so I feel like that is a time when lots of people are just at peak stress and anxiety and chaos all the time. And two, this has been a huge personal project or challenge this year. I feel like it's not a secret if you've been paying attention to like Jordan Danae and Sartorial Geek that we have had a lot of things not go according to plan, and that has basically all been because so much personal stuff has been super chaotic this year, and trying to navigate like taking care of myself versus getting podcast episodes out on time, or like hitting every single mailing list that's supposed to go out. So that, we've been doing a lot of thinking and talking about self-care and wellness. And then Robyn is also my like personal trainer and personal self-care advocate. So you have been helping me figure out how to live, basically, which has been hugely important.
Please don't think that I know how to live, anyone. I'm much better at helping other people than myself.
Which is kind of great. Like, this episode is coming from two people who are have a lot of personal experience, but are not in any way experts. So, like, we're not sitting up on our pedestals saying we know we have perfect lives and know how to do everything. We're on the struggle bus too.
Yes,
so.
I drive the struggle bus.
But that is nice because I feel like I haven't actually done like a ton of research, or like I haven't actually like thought about self-care much in my life before this. Like I feel like a lot of, if you just like type in self-care, it's a lot of like beautiful, picturesque, like go on like a vacation to the mountains and do yoga and like sip on your tea and like kind of unrealistic, unachievable things. Yeah. And I feel like you're one of the first people who was like, nah, you still gotta live. Like,
you have things
is real life self-care stuff.
Like, don't you have rent to pay also?
And like, what if you can't take 3 weeks off to do a meditation retreat? Is that it? Like,
is that your only choice? Else? Right. Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like I want to talk about real life self-care that is as messy as like our lives are. And I mean, this is actually something that you posted on Instagram super recently, where it's like also not faulting yourself for not being perfect at it. Like, you can decide you want to do something like meditate every morning, and then if you skip 4 days, you don't have to permanently decide you're done with it. You can like give yourself some grace.
And that's probably a self-care practice in and of itself, is just to try not to do the all or nothing thinking, or like punishing yourself for not being perfect, or just saying like, well, then I'm not good at this thing ever just because you messed up.
So I feel like we'll talk about this a little more, but I feel like if this is the kind of thing that's interesting to you and you're looking for people to go on a very realistic self-care journey with, Robyn and I are two great people to talk to. While we're talking about it, you might as well just tell people where to follow you and where to find you.
So I'm at Geek Girl Strong, mostly on Instagram. One of my self-care things in the past month or so has been simply to put banners on my other, professional or business in social media pages that just say like, hey, I'm not here much. Find me on Instagram, so that I don't have to spread myself as thin as I was. And you can find a lot of our self-care stuff at #GGS Self-Care Challenge.
And I feel like talking about social media is a perfect first thing to do, because both of us this year have had to make a lot of different choices about social media.
Yeah.
Personally, I have just not when I should have. Like, I have a very, very specific plan for what works well for my business. And for the first time, I think, since I started, I've taken a lot of breaks. And spoiler, it's been fine. Yeah. Like, I still have a business that's functioning, and I don't post 3 times a day, every day, on everything all the time now. And I feel you similarly.
I've done the same thing, yeah. I used to post at least once a day. I used to post twice a day, and then I lost my mind. Yep. And then I was posting once a day, and I didn't see that big of a difference if I skipped one day a week, and if I made sure, like, to rack my brain and post something. So I've been trying that. And also, just so everyone knows, everyone in the business world now says that you don't have to actually post to Instagram every day, and it's more important to post in your stories. So just so you know.
Yeah, and that is like a nice, that feels easier and better too. Yeah. Like, it's like way less pressure.
Total. And I mean, that's how Instagram Instagram. I'm going to use that. Instagram used to be. Yeah. Because it didn't have to be like so curated and like you're creating this world in your profile.
It was supposed to be moment of.
The reason why I had Instagram at all was just to share pictures while I was traveling away from home for a month. Yeah. And didn't feel like having to email everybody.
And then it became like a business chore.
And then it became like a hindrance, which is not fun.
And like, I think that is like, I'm not saying I'm anti-social media. I love it. And I actually, sometimes that is great self-care for me, to get on and be like, I'm just going to go check in with all my friends and actually say hi to everyone and like tell them their kids are cute and like see what everyone's up to, because I'm such an extrovert. I feel connected. But there are multiple sides of everything, so, like, you can find ways to use the resources that are out there in, like, more or less helpful ways, which is nice.
Yeah, and something that I heard that's kind of connected to, I think I was listening to one of my business podcasts while working, so I wasn't fully listening. Yeah. So I don't remember who said this. This is not me. But they just said that humans are such social beings. Like, it's just a part of our makeup, that when we know that we have an email or a message or a comment from someone, our body doesn't know how to differentiate between that person waiting for us and someone literally knocking on our door being like, waiting for you to come outside.
Oh, crazy.
So your body feels like, oh, this person's waiting for me. I need to go, or I need to do something for them, and doesn't know how to be like, I can just wait and respond to their message later.
So I wonder if that's, like, when things that are, like, putting your phone in airplane mode or, like, turning off notifications, that feels like that's exactly why you feel better when you do that.
Totally. I don't have any social media notifications on my phone anymore.
That's really smart.
It's difficult because sometimes I open it all the time to check, but it makes it easier in that feeling, that I don't feel like someone's knocking at the door all the time.
And you don't have that, like, here is a red circle telling you how many people want to talk to you right now.
Because I don't want any red circles on my phone.
Yeah. I think that's great. And that's something I have been doing way more than I ever have before, which is like, I'll just do this all at once and then I'll forget about it until tomorrow.
Yep.
And everyone is fine.
Yes.
Like, no one has ever responded to me being like, you didn't reply within 10 minutes. It was 5 hours, so I'm done with you.
Exactly.
It's fine.
I would even say, besides emergencies, most of the time you can reply within 48. Yeah. 24 is better, but one of those number of hours, and it's usually fine.
And that goes into another thing that you told me recently that I have been doing, actually on our panel at Comic-Con. So one of the things that this is my personality, that when I feel very behind on things, like even though it's work, that's a hugely helpful piece of self-care for me to just like take things off my to-do list. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I'm always behind on is emails. And so one of your suggestions was like, spend an hour every day and just get back to people. Mm-hmm. And then it's within 24 hours. So, like, it's almost always fine if you have an urgent client or whatever. Right. Like, absolutely. But if your work and life doesn't require you to be on email all the time, that was a huge relief because you can, like, think about it for a chunk of time, know that you did it, and then, like, you don't have to think about it until tomorrow. And you know you'll take care of it tomorrow.
Right. And sometimes what I like to add on to that, what I do now is I'll read emails that I know I need to get back to, and I'll star or flag them so that the next day, like if I've already responded to all the emails I've got in me today, I'll flag you for the next day and be like, all right, this is the first one I have to respond to tomorrow. So you're still getting back to them within 24 hours.
That's super smart.
Yeah. Makes it easier.
Yeah. Those little things that are like, I mean, I guess this is sort of what we're talking about, self-care in your daily life that are like little tricks that just help you live better.
Yeah.
And I feel like you have a lot of nice tips about like breathing and like things that don't require anything other than just thinking about it and doing it.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
So there are a lot of breathing exercises, and there are so many that people can usually find one that works best for them. For some people, you're sitting there and breathing, and you're like, this is stupid.
I'm breathing fine. I don't need this.
But then there's probably another one, like with visualizations, that might work better for you, because there are a lot of people who don't want to sit there in their own head when they're stressed out.
Yeah.
Because it's too much. Like, I don't want to go there.
I've seen some cool, like, I guess they're essentially like boomerang videos that are just like things that you
opening and closing,
shapes that do things.
Exactly. So you can like go onto YouTube, and they have like a circle that gets bigger when you're supposed to inhale and smaller when you exhale. You can also do that by just imagining it in your head, or there are some techniques of like breathing in white light and breathing out a darker light. So like imagining those types of things happening, like filling up with light and letting out the dark. So that you don't have to, like, emotionally be in your head.
I like that.
But you're still, in doing that, you're doing the breathing exercise, too.
And that's the same thing as, like, stretch. Like, things that are just good for your body, even if you don't feel like it, you can sort of trick yourself. Like, you feel better afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, most of my clients, I force them to stretch, especially the personal training clients. Like, pole clients, we stretch because you will hurt yourself if you don't. But even the personal training clients, they'll, like, get ready to leave at the end, and then I'm like, don't you want to stretch? And they're like, oh, I should. And then at the end of it, it's like, I feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Are there any other, am I missing stuff? The things I always think about are, like, breathing, meditation, and stretching, because they're my favorite, but I'm sure there are other things that are in that vein.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the mindfulness stuff is really good. The body scanning can be really good, and that doesn't take very long, and you can do it laying in your bed or sitting. It's basically just literally zooming into a part of your body and seeing how it feels at that time. Like, how do your feet feel on the ground? Do your legs feel hot or cold? And all of those kinds of things. That can be super easy. Sometimes it can even help in stressful situations, like sitting at the table at Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Pre-holiday.
Yeah.
When you're just like, I can't believe you just said this.
Right.
How do I sit here and respond?
Right, exactly. So, like, if you need a moment to yourself, but you're surrounded by other people, a lot of, I don't know, we use the term self-care now, but I feel like it all goes back to more of, like, the meditation and mindfulness and all of that kind of stuff at the core of it. So a lot of the mindfulness techniques can be used. One that I try to do a lot now, because my therapist brought it up, she was just like, you eat fast, don't you? I was like, oh, no. I mean, sort of. And my partner was like, she eats fast all the time. Yeah. And she said, pay attention when you're eating. Like, if that's all you do, you don't have to change. She didn't ask me to change anything else. So I literally now, I realize when I just, like, breathed in food.
Right. And I've never thought about this ever. So this is super interesting.
Yeah. And instead now what I do is Because I also realized, and this works better for me, I realized I was missing out on something and it made me upset.
Yeah.
And that's what motivated me. So I realized I was actually missing out on the experience of eating the food that I think is so delicious.
Right.
And couldn't even tell you what it tasted like afterwards because I was just breathing it in.
That makes a lot of sense.
So, I would smell my food and then I'd be like, that smells really good. And then barely even chew it. And just think of a small dog who wants to eat all their food. And that's basically me. But now I'm trying to be like, what does this food actually taste like? Do I like the taste? What does the texture of the food feel like in my mouth? Did I just chew that 2 times and I'm now trying to swallow it, which won't even digest as well in my body? And it really doesn't take that much, and I don't have to pay attention to it the whole time, so I can do that and then go back to the conversation that I'm having with someone.
Yeah.
I can do that and then still watch whatever it is that I'm watching. It's just, I now realize after I'm done if I was paying attention at all or not.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that's I've never thought about that ever, but it makes a lot of sense.
And I like my food more now. I love food a lot, so that matters to me.
Yeah, so the fact that you like it even more is awesome.
Definitely.
And then you also just said something that I think you're very good at. I'm not as good at it. If you're in a situation and you need to take a break or step out, you can.
Yeah.
Well, that's for sure can.
Everyone will die if I don't.
But you know that about yourself, and that's great.
Yeah. I'm more introverted, so I think you need it whether you feel that you're introverted or extroverted. I think that's one of the reasons why it happens easier for me because I'm just I need a moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, go away even if it's for 10 minutes. If you need a moment to yourself or if you need a moment of sitting silently next to someone that you trust, that's okay too.
And you don't have to announce it. You don't have to be like, I'm taking a break, everyone. You can pretend you're going to the bathroom and just hang out in there. That's
totally.
That is my best trick because I am not good at this, but sometimes I'll be like, I'm just going to pee a lot more than I have to and take a little extra time while I'm in there.
Yeah.
And no one will know. Yeah. And it's fine.
Right.
I'll just be able to breathe.
Yeah. And some of that takes a level of knowing yourself and a level of maturity as well. Even the not saying it outright takes a bit of this is a moment when I need to go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another big thing too. You don't have to make a show out of any of it. A lot of this is for you.
Right.
So, whatever version works for you.
Yeah. And I know that, people, now that the term self-care is so popular, it's become something to make fun of as well.
That's
which
true too.
Makes sense because sometimes it's very silly.
Yeah.
And, people are like, it's not all face masks and wine.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, sure, that is true. It probably should be a little, deeper. Quote unquote, deeper than that. But, as someone who has breakouts sometimes, it is self-care for me to, make sure that I'm taking care of my skin. Because then I have to go out into the world looking a way that I don't really want to look. So sometimes it is deeper than that.
Yeah, and, even just if there's a thing that makes you feel put together, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else, that's great.
Sometimes it's really big things, like you said. Yeah. Sometimes it's realizing that you're not being your full self as a public school teacher and then you leave.
Right. It can be as big as changing careers and moving to a new city or something.
Right. It can be as small as, I just recently had someone tell me, wearing really sexy underwear underneath your suit.
Yeah.
And no one has to know.
Yep.
And that's it. And that just makes you feel real spicy.
And I've heard more people, because we're in super nerdy circles, I've heard people say where they'll sneak nerdy jewelry or something into their work outfit.
Pins.
Where it's just no one knows I'm wearing Deadpool earrings.
Right.
And I feel good about that.
Totally.
And that's my thing.
I've worn a Deadpool button up to work and people thought it was just some patterned shirt when in reality it was katanas.
Right.
With the little Deadpool symbol.
And those things feel really good.
Yeah. And it feels a little rebellious, especially when you're upset with your boss or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And it's the healthiest way to handle that.
Exactly.
We want to take a quick break from the episode to thank our sponsor, Jordan Dene. Jordan Dene is a geek chic home goods and apparel brand that is based in Brooklyn. All of our designs are hand lettered, and we use quotes that are inspired by our favorite characters and stories in pop culture. We have super, super soft shirts, t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, and all kinds of home goods and accessories if you want to be subtly nerdy in your everyday life. You can check us out at JordanToday.com and at JordanToday NYC all over the internet.
So you're an introvert and I'm an extrovert.
Yes.
Which I feel like means that sometimes self-care to us is different.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your personal, like, favorite or go-to
self-care things?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think a lot of it is quiet time, but that doesn't mean that other people don't have to be around, which I think a lot of extroverts don't understand about introverted people, where it's just like, no, if I like you, you can sit next to me. Just don't talk to me right now.
I'm just reading.
Right.
Near you is fine, but...
Right. Like, I literally just want to read with my foot on your foot.
Yes.
You're here.
Is great.
Yeah. So a lot of those things work a lot for me. I think the social media thing, trying to figure that out, has been super helpful because I was getting super anxious for no reason. Like, sure, there are things to make me anxious in the world, but I'd wake up like, what's wrong? I was like, why? Nothing has happened to you yet today.
A lot of people have said that about starting their day with Twitter,
Yeah.
especially now, where it's like, that doesn't feel good for the rest of the day most of the time.
Not at all. So, and I think we forget that the word social is in it, and the word media is in it, which can be stressful in of itself as well. So I've started putting a time limit on how much literal time I can spend on Instagram a day, except for Saturdays.
And that's easier now with the update, right?
I think it's screen time on iPhones, and I feel like the other phones have a similar option now, but you can literally just put a time cap on particular apps.
Cool.
And I don't have the Facebook app on my phone, but just so you know how creepy our phones are, it still says Facebook. If I'm on the website, it uses it as an app.
Weird.
Yeah. So like YouTube, it tells me how much time I've spent on the website, YouTube. I don't need the app for it to tell me. Yeah. It's stressful.
Okay. Yeah, so if you want to check in with yourself about... Yeah. Because that is, I think, unless you're amazingly self-aware, that's almost always shocking.
Yeah. And, so I've been putting my phone out of physical reach when I'm working as well. And I'm trying to get better at focusing on one thing, maybe two things at a time, rather than constantly picking things up and doing things. That's been my biggest self-care thing right now, for sure.
That makes a lot of sense. So your brain isn't in 1,000 places all the time.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of the self-care stuff is like, for me, it's the working out stuff, and usually alone, so I can be in my introvert level self. And then I think a lot of self-care, too, is knowing that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Like, that helps a lot. I think we don't give that enough credit as being something that is comforting and caring to ourselves, of just... that's why, even though I'm an introvert, I love conventions. It's my people.
I mean, yeah, I feel like that's a funny thing that we end up talking about a lot. Being an introvert doesn't mean you hate people. Like, it just means...
And don't get me wrong, I hate most people.
I mean, yes, it doesn't mean you don't hate everyone. But it's not like you don't like being around anyone ever. It's just...
It's not equated
different.
with being shy or antisocial. It's just where you get your energy. Like... I'm sure there are people who know both Jordan and I listening. If they see me hit my wall of social interaction energy, they're just like, oh, Robyn needs to sit down.
And that's me the opposite, because I work alone a lot and I'm like screen printing a lot. And I was a nanny before I did this job, which was kids, which is not socializing, really. I'm the opposite, where if I don't have adult friend interaction for long enough, like, I get weird.
Yeah.
My brain stops functioning well.
I'm sure a lot of people have seen you at your booth, like, for lack of a better term, you're like on a high.
Yeah.
When you're talking to people.
I really, really am.
Yeah.
When I leave, I mean, I'm super, super tired, but when I leave a convention, I'm like, this is the best.
Yeah.
Like, I never feel better than I do right now.
And I leave the 4 days of New York Comic Con, and I'm like, see you in a month.
Yeah. But I mean, that's like, I feel like that's proving the point that like you can still do the same activities, but you have to know how to handle it yourself.
And do it
great
for yourself. And you're only going to be better at everything else that you do if you figure out this stuff. So you're only going to be a better business person. You're only going to be a better partner, a better friend, a better parent if you have that, which... That's crazy, being a parent.
Yeah, we're not giving advice about that.
Parents, I have no idea what that's like.
All the respect to all of you.
Yeah, I was a teacher for so long. I had 50 kids all at once in a gym.
No.
But I never had to go home to them. So props to all of you.
Yeah, man. That is excellent work. Yeah, everyone who does that.
But I will say, every parent I know who makes a point to do some things for themselves, even if that's just like, no, kids, I have to go get my hair cut.
Yeah.
They say that helps them be a better parent.
Well, and we have personal experience, and not with being parents, but with being like in relationships. And I feel like that's the same thing.
Yeah.
You are almost always a better partner if you are taking care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Which is huge.
Yeah, and it radiates off of you when you are taking care of yourself and like yourself more than not.
Feels like it wouldn't be, like, it feels like it's like selfish to take care of yourself,
right? And
you would be better if you're always taking care of other people,
right? But
that's just like definitely not true.
No, it is not, because I mean, it's the whole like not putting your mask on before putting on the person next to you's mask on the plane if the plane is going down. If you put on their mask, cool, now they're looking at you passed out.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like, maybe they don't have, what they need to help you. So now. And
I've noticed that even with business stuff, like, customer service emails are always, like, pretty much the same. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not okay, I'm so mad and feisty when I'm, like, reading and responding to totally normal things. Totally. Which is a completely different experience than when I'm doing it, and, like, I'm fine. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, of course we'll solve all of your problems. Versus, like, how dare you ask me for something? Like, and the only difference is how I'm doing. How you're feeling.
Right. And, of course, sometimes you're just going to feel like crap.
Yeah.
And allowing for yourself to feel like crap can also be super helpful.
Knowing when to just not respond to anything because you shouldn't. And pick it up the next day is really good. Yeah. Really important.
I think if someone would have told me earlier on in my life that life was gonna be hard sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that it wasn't me, it wasn't necessarily just my circumstances. If someone would have just been like, look, for all of us, life is really crappy sometimes. And that's that. And that's just life. And you have to keep going.
That I feel like has been a huge personally a huge lesson this year, and I feel like with a lot of people that I am talking to, I'm having very similar conversations because, but I think you're right, like, sometimes just realizing that, like, everything isn't always going to be great all the time, and just knowing what to do with that, and knowing that you can and need to figure out something is great.
I think the way to pronounce her name is Pema Chodron. I could be totally wrong, but she's the Buddhist, the Buddhist nun, and she has lots of books, but the one that I've read is called When Things Fall Apart, I think, and that taught me a lot. I've read a couple of other things that taught me similar ideas, but just the idea that the natural state of humans is to be uncomfortable was really big for me. So, like, if you're sitting and meditating, you're gonna get uncomfortable no matter what you do, just because, like, your butt's gonna fall asleep.
Right.
Your legs are gonna start tingling.
Great.
Right. Yeah. Like, no matter what, it shouldn't be a goal to have everything be perfect and be happy all the time, because it's unrealistic, because no matter what you do, you're gonna feel uncomfortable at some point. I think a lot of the self-care stuff just has to be kind of like the path of least harm, like harm reduction.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And then making sure to stay responsible for all of the other things that you have to do in your life. Like, also not neglecting everything in the name of self-care.
And that's the hard balance of, like, I guess it's it's sort of having your plan of action when things don't go well. And I feel like most of us have had days or chunks of days that don't. I mean, even just getting sick is one of them. So it's like either it's planning ahead if that's what you have to do, or it's like whatever version of having you being able to not completely throw everything away if you're not okay. And like,
and I mean, you know, sometimes it happens. I recently heard on a podcast, someone was just like, I saw something about an ex. So that day was gone. You know what I mean? They were just, but then they were still there recording the podcast the next day or whatever, but they were just saying, so yesterday was in the trash. Nothing happened.
And I think, I mean, one of the things that I have been super, super thankful for this year is like when you have great people in your life and around you that get that, that changes everything. When you can say like, I am really sorry I like didn't text you back for 2 days or like I had to cancel hanging out because I just couldn't do that that day. And have people, it's hugely important to have people in your life who get it.
Yeah, it's really important.
Mad at you.
Yes. You know? And then, you know, there's the trade-off again of just being like, be responsible when you're doing, be responsible about everything. Yeah. But be responsible about self-care not harming other parts of your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't dive so far in that you like stop going to work and never call your friends again.
Imagine if someone just showed back up to work and they were like, where have you been for the last week? Self-care.
Self-care, man. I couldn't.
Hashtag self-care.
I don't work anymore. I'm taking care of myself. Yeah. 100%.
And I think that practicing self-care in really hard moments only makes you better at doing it later. So, like, when the rug gets pulled out from underneath you and you're literally in the air, you haven't even hit the ground yet, to be able to be like, what do I need? Is a really big skill.
And being able to remember times that you survived before is huge, too.
Yes. So I constantly have to tell myself, like, you've been through other things. Yeah. And you're still here, which means that you know more than you did before that other bad thing happened. What can you use from that today?
I think that is the best thing to think about.
Yeah. It's really hard, too, when you're in the moment.
Sure is. And, like, for me, because I'm such an extrovert, the thing that I need is, like, I spend time thinking and being alone too, but I really, really benefit from having a friend that I could talk to be like, this is the situation I'm in. I have no idea what to do. Here are the details. And then have a person be like, okay, well, since we're not burning everything in the fire, here are like options that I think are good for you. Yeah. And so like sometimes you don't have to think about it all yourself. Sure. If there are good people in your life, they can help you say like, well, you can't never go to work, but maybe you can like ask for an extension on this project, or maybe you can ask your partner to like help you out and then you'll help them out next time or whatever. Like being creative problem solving when you need it, I feel like is.
And I think, you know, reasoning with yourself and being like, what if I didn't do this today? What happens?
That is the thing I think all the time. Yeah. Like, can I send an email explaining why this is going to be 2 days late and ask if that's okay versus staying up all night when I can't and then extra dying tomorrow. Right.
Like, what will happen if you don't send the email right now? Or what will happen if you know, can't meet a deadline and you have to ask for an extra day? Yeah. If the answer is you've already asked for a deadline a bunch of times and you need to get it done, maybe you need to just stay up. Yeah. But if that's not the case, then maybe that means that you just need to give yourself a little bit of grace.
Yeah. I've been leaning on that real hard. So I appreciate this conversation a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. Is there anything else you can think of that we should share with people?
I mean, I think the biggest thing, when you said not being alone is like the best. So whatever that looks like for you, whether it's like more anonymous and just being in a group of people who aren't all your best friends. So you feel, like that's where both of our online communities are great. Yeah. If you just want to like be able to vent about your sister-in-law that no one knows. True. And you can.
Very true.
Or whether it's having like an in-person best friend who you give a heads up. They're like, hey, I'm going through some stuff. Yeah. can you help me out for this amount of time? Or the other thing, like, we both are super advocates of therapy in all of the forms of group things, personal,
whatever.
I've talked before about I use Talkspace, which is like great if your schedule doesn't allow for you to do something in person all the time, or if you want more than that, like you want to be able to text a person and not, like, the thing that has been great for me is I have a lot of really close friends who I have leaned on a lot, but also there was a point where I was like, I shouldn't have 3 best friends who are also playing therapists all the time. So, like, something like that is great if that's a position you're in, that you want one single professional to be with you every day.
And I think something good to point out about therapy in particular is, and I think I had to say this to you at some point recently, where it was like, you don't have to go to them because you're looking for an answer to something.
Yep.
They are just someone who is hopefully a non-biased ear, because you're paying them to be your friend.
Who will hopefully notice things that you're not noticing.
Totally. And they have no cards on the table. They, at the very end of the day, outside of your safety and your well-being, they really don't care about your decisions. You know what I mean?
Like, they're not affected by what you do.
They're like, look, I'm here to help. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Most therapists are not going to flat out tell you what to do unless it's like a safety issue or you're asking, obviously you need help deciding. Most of the time it's just like, how can I best help you take care of you?
Yeah.
Right now.
Which, if you've never had someone have that conversation with you, it feels amazing. Like, because cool. that's not a way most people in your life are talking. I mean, that's not the way I talk to my friends either. So having a person whose entire focus for the time you're talking to them is like, how can you make your life better? Is like the best.
It's also a lot of the times less scared to hurt your feelings. And just like be a mirror. Not making anything worse, but just being a very, like, again, non-biased reflection of what you've just said to them can be very helpful. I really recently saw a meme that said something along the lines of, like, therapists on TV tilts their head and, like, nods knowingly at what you say. And therapist in real life is like, Amanda, that's the dumbest thing you've ever said to me.
If they're good and if it's what you need, having someone be like, of course this isn't working because you're saying and doing opposite things is like usually helpful.
And that form is helpful for me. It's not going to be helpful to someone who's like had people telling them those kinds of things their entire life. And you would need something else.
Instead.
Totally.
Which is something that you told me the very first time I ever thought about seeing a therapist, that, what did you say? It's like dating? Like finding it's not like you just sign up for therapy and it's definitely the perfect match from the go.
Just because they're a therapist doesn't mean that they're the right therapist for you. In the same way of dating, when you go out to dinner with someone and you're like, oh, I actually don't like you.
I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Like, I would never talk to you. The same thing can happen with a therapist. You can go a few times and then realize, like, oh, this is not a match for me. Either I'm not being completely honest with them because I'm not comfortable with them, or I don't like the way they talk to me, or whatever it is. You don't have to see that person anymore. And finding a therapist can be really, really hard. I'm not going to say that's not true. Between insurance problems, scheduling, and money, and all of those things. So sometimes it's best to just stay with the person that you have for now, but it doesn't hurt to keep looking. You can even tell them that you're looking.
And sometimes, I mean, if they're good, they should recommend, like, they have friends.
If they feel like there is a better match for you, they might be able to refer you to someone else or even to groups. If you go on meetup.com, there are support groups there. And they're usually not run by professionals, so it's really good to know that. But if they're a good support group, they're run by people who want to get together with other people who are experiencing very similar things. And I've gone to one, and I liked it a lot. So that's an option.
Great if your particular situation is, this thing is happening in my life, and I feel totally alone. I feel like that's the best. Even just knowing that there's a room of people, you don't even have to talk to them. Just being like, oh, there are 20 other people who get this.
Yes.
I'm not as alone as I thought.
And what's really good to know about support groups as well is that a good support group is not going to force you to talk.
Cool. That's good to
They're going to let you sit there, and when they come around in the circle, if you say, I don't really have anything else that I want to say today, that should be okay. Especially if you've been there before, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like maybe the first time introduce yourself because other people are there sharing some, really personal things.
So don't be weird.
Right. So don't be weird
Yeah.
and just sit there silently the whole time. But most of the time you should be able to just be like, I don't really want to share anything today, but my name is Robyn. And thank you for welcoming me into your space. And that's it. Yeah.
I feel like that's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah.
Hopefully this has been helpful for people. I mean, I feel like there is no one human alive that can't benefit from taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
So if that's you, sorry that you wasted your time. But for everyone else,
sorry, you're so perfect that you need no help.
For everyone else, I mean, please talk to us too if you want. If you're looking for people, especially if you're looking for nerdy people who are generally trying to be positive and help each other and take care of each other. Mm-hmm. For us, if you go to sartorialgeek.com and hit the communities tab, that's where we hang out. And we started a self-care group too, so you can come talk specifically about that. And then Robyn is at
Geek Girl Strong. And then you can, again, the hashtag is #GGS Self-Care Challenge. And there's over 300 posts there. It's not only me, it's also other people who have done the challenge. So you can see examples of what other people have done. And then you can go to geekgirlstrong.com and sign up for our newsletter because I'm always sending little snippets of not only my life, but tips and things, in addition to self-care challenge updates and all of those things.
Yeah. And you should definitely, we'll post when the self-care challenge is happening again because it's awesome. I love it so much.
I love it too.
Yay! Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great week. Stay nerdy, and we'll talk to you later.
See ya.